Welcome to On the Point Podcast, a podcast for all things Overwatch with a heavy focus on League, discussing roster moves, weekly matchups, and the May Melee, y'all.
Yeah, finally going to be coming up this weekend. Well, tomorrow, technically,
Yeah,
at the
tomorrow.
time of recording.
Yeah, as a reminder, we record these usually on Thursday nights, so this is recording on May 21st. 2 whole-ass months into quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
And we are staring down the barrel of the May Melee, which is promising to be fun and interesting, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I'm excited to see kind of how things go, especially with kind of the meta and the place that it is. A lot of teams are having a little more time to get used to this Echo dive that seems to be really strong right now. So we'll see how it looks when teams have a little more time to play and get used to it.
Especially since the May Melee is no hero pools.
Yeah.
So we're going to see some fun stuff, but that's also going to be the literal last thing we talk about. So stay tuned for that, ladies and gentlemen. That's coming up later. I'm Katie. I am the support main.
I'm CJ. I'm the tank main.
And we are here to talk about a game that is actually really good regardless of what people say, because people are
Yep.
dumb. There's a lot of Overwatch is a bad game going around right now, and that, people are allowed to be mad and people are allowed to dislike things, and we're allowed to understand that they are completely wrong in their opinions. So
And they can shut the fuck up. I don't really care.
I don't feel like picking a fight with everyone who has a wrong opinion on the internet. I'll be here all day.
Yeah, but you say that, but by saying they have a wrong opinion.
Oh, I know. I am aware. They can come to me and face me in my home turf. Uh, Anyway, so as we always do, we start this off with talking about the previous week's matches. So we're going to run down week 14.
Yeah. So, week 14, we start off with the Seoul Dynasty versus the Chengdu Hunters. We both predicted Seoul on the back of a very strong showing from them in the previous week, but Chengdu absolutely stomped them out 3-0. The
And the
one
thing is, I remember making a comment about picking Seoul because Chengdu had rolled a few 2 Nat 1s recently. And it's like, oh, there's that Nat 20. Cool, cool, cool,
Yeah.
cool.
Well, yeah, that's the thing with Chengdu. It's they either look like they can't tell their asses from their elbows, or they look really good at this weird thing they're doing. There's never any like consistency about it.
So
Any
it's less rolling any number on the dice and more they have one of those coins that has a 20 on one side and a skull on the other.
something like that, yeah. The two-faced silver dollar.
Yep.
Anyway, the London Spitfires suffered a similar fate against the Shanghai Dragons, with Shanghai picking up the 3-0 win, aligning with both of our predictions. The NYXL versus Hangzhou Spark match, both on the way we predicted as well, with the New York Excelsior picking up a 3-1 victory. Up next, the Vancouver Titans took on the Houston Outlaws in the battle of green versus different green, with
Yeah.
the green team, aka Houston, winning 3-0 as Vancouver Titans continue their skid.
Can
Washington
we
just
just talk about Dante being crazy for a little bit?
Yeah, no, his Echo looked really nasty ever since the sort of like Echo tournament where he got to play Echo for his team. He's picked it up incredibly fast. Like I'd say right now, him and Nico are probably the best Echoes that we've seen.
I'll fight you on that. Rascal.
Rascal was very good.
Hmm. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, aren't we?
Yeah, no, I just I just didn't think he took over the game in quite the same way as Dante and Nico had. I think he
I
had a
mean,
huge impact. I just don't think like literally no one could touch him in the same way.
I will argue that Dante and Nico certainly had amazing flashy plays, but just in terms of looking at Rascal and what he is able to do and his ridiculous hero pool, like he doesn't necessarily always have to have the showstopper Echo, but he's very, very good at figuring out exactly what his team needs at that moment
Yeah.
and then playing that to its fullest.
Oh, he's an incredibly intelligent player with a ridiculous amount of adaptability. He's like libero in that sort of like Swiss Army knife category as a player. I'm
Oh,
just
yeah.
saying, like, while he can play everything to a really high level and plays with his team super well, I still think it's those two up top and him right behind them in
Point.
terms of just the echo.
Point. And also, a little more for this match. Hydration on main tank.
It's something we've seen before, and I was interested to see it kind of creep back in there, especially because we saw him play Reinhardt on some maps. And while I have never been high on Muma's Reinhardt, I've always kind of thought, as far as like the professional tier goes, his Reinhardt is kind of wanting. At the same time, it's kind of the spot that he's played for this team, and so them having hydration do it instead is interesting to me.
Yeah, still pretty solid on it, and playing spoiler on the wrecking ball was a lot of fun to watch.
Oh yeah, no, like his main tank is very very good. It's weird to see him playing that instead of the projectile that he's known for, but I don't doubt him in that spot.
Yeah, well, it definitely paid off for Houston.
Yeah,
All
absolutely it did.
weekend and all week.
Yeah. Next matchup, Florida Mayhem versus Washington Justice. Florida takes the 3-1 victory, once again in accordance with the prophecy. Uh,
My asterisk prediction did not pan out. Washington only picked up one DPS from the former Titans line. And a
yeah,
tank.
which I'll be real. Stitch, I think, was a good pickup for this team, and I think he'll, provided he gets the opportunity to gel with them, I think I think he could be very promising for them. I think Janu is a mechanical upgrade over Elevote, but at the same time, I feel like I don't know. I feel like it was almost a wasted pickup because Elevote was not necessarily one of those things that I think you needed to change for this team to be successful.
There's theories about what the Justice might be doing, and I think we'll get a little further into that when we talk about news,
Yeah.
because it kind of plays into that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
we'll definitely talk about that whole situation a bit more.
Kevin Sorbo
Um,
screaming disappointed.
yeah,
Speaking of Gladiators versus Boston, what the
Boston
fuck?
Boston continuing the streak I didn't realize they had and beating the LA Gladiators 3-2. Yeah, apparently they've never lost to the Gladiators, which is something I never noticed.
Yeah, I saw that, and that I remember telling my roommate about this because it's my birthday weekend. She's been very patient with me all weekend, listening to me talk about this and watching it with me. She's
Mhm.
not usually part of the audience for this. And I remember making a joke about it's not a question of whether the gladiators win, it's a question of whether they beat the record. And then they dropped that first map while I was watching, and I went, what? One, there goes the top four seed. Two, what?
Yeah, on the first hand, like they definitely looked messier than they had and made some like odd choices. I would need to like rewatch it to give you some more specifics, but I just remember watching it and being a little bit like, hmm. Um, but at the same time, we saw Boston play way more coordinated, way sharper. They just with Punk in there, they looked like a different team.
So, do we think that this win, this improvement, can be laid at Punk's feet?
I mean, he's the variable that's changed in the most significant way. So I think it would be impossible to say that he didn't have a part in it, especially because he played well. But the thing is, without knowing what else is going on at the same time, I don't know that we can say like, oh yeah, no, Punk, was the missing piece. Sometimes things just click into place when you change one aspect or another. Maybe Punk brought a little more shot calling on the field, and it really helped sort of bring them together. Maybe they were just in a really good headspace. There's a lot of things that can contribute to that.
I also want to bring up because I found this interesting, and I don't want to be like, oh, well, this is the reason they won, because that's bullshit. They won because they've improved, among other things. But this was a 6 map series, with one of them ending in a draw.
Yeah.
All three of Boston's wins were on control. And the fact that we did the 5 map spread with a control map on the either end and then tacked another control map after that, like, I thought that was an odd decision just in terms of production. I can
Well, yeah.
understand that they did not want to tie the series at that point and have another long, ridiculous stretch like Boston Houston was way back when. But I thought that was a very odd decision to put the same map right after another one. Like, I can get why they made it, but I'm not necessarily a fan of it.
Yeah, and well, the thing is, they are kind of the order of maps and how they come in is kind of randomized now, as opposed to being completely predictable. So, I think that just was kind of the RNG coming up in a certain way here. I
But I
will
mean, we
say,
do always begin and end with control in a 5 map spread.
yes,
It's just the middle ones that get randomized. Like it might have been RNG, but to me, this felt like a production decision. Like, we've seen maps run into 7 or 8 or stupid numbers of maps, especially with Boston. We don't want to do it. Let's end it. Like, that's what this felt like to me.
um,
Who knows? I don't have the answer.
I don't necessarily agree, but it's possible.
Yeah, I do want to point out that all three of their wins were on control because Boston is out here just killing it on control, evidently.
Yeah, no, it's part of it, and like Boston just played way, way better than they have in previous seasons. Previous matches this season, they look the best that they have. Just period. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and I will say it's interesting to me that I'm wondering why they played Paintbrush over Big Goose. Do we know anything about that?
I have not heard anything about that. It's entirely possible that they picked Paintbrush to go in against Boston for the same reason that Philly put Chipsa in against the Titans. They thought it was going to be a gimme, and they thought that introing a new player, this would be a good time to do it, like a training wheels match. Obviously,
I
that wound up not being the case.
I don't know how much I buy that though, just because Deepe as a coach doesn't seem like the sort of person to do that. Like I don't he has never struck me as the type of person who thinks like, okay, we can take it easy
Well,
because we're
no,
taking
but
a weaker opponent on.
well, no, but you I'm trying to figure out the best way to phrase this. For a player who doesn't have on stage experience with the team,
Hmm.
such as it is that there's not really a physical stage right now,
Hmm.
you don't want to debut a new player against, say, the Shock or
Yeah.
NYXL, against a team where you know you need to bring your A game. You debut that player against someone that you typically or that you tend to outrank, someone that isn't going to play as hard a game, so that they can get a feel for what matches versus scrims feel like. Boston, I think, would have been a good opportunity to get that in. It's less, oh, we're playing down to Boston, and more, we'll be fine even without Big Goose. It's a good time for Paintbrush to get some experience. And then again, that wound up not being the case.
Yeah, I again, I don't know like I doubt they would have put him in if he didn't have a decent amount of scrim time. And like you said, it is a different situation. But I could have sworn they played him before at least once.
Maybe.
Um,
I don't remember off the top of my head.
but the reason it's interesting to me is because we know Big Goose is kind of he's always been a very vocal shot caller, a big in game leader for the Gladiators, regardless of incarnation. Um, I wonder if maybe not having him in that mix maybe led to the team not being as sharp as they would have been otherwise. Because I don't think Paintbrush is a bad player. I don't think putting
Oh,
him in is
no,
any
no.
kind of throw or any shit like that. Like he absolutely deserves a spot on an Overwatch League team on a mechanical level. I just don't know like what other variables besides his mechanical skill and game sense that he brings to the table in terms of like organizing the team when you hit the field.
For what it's worth, and I haven't watched this, but I guess it dropped at 2 p.m. today. The Gladiators have an ongoing series they do called The Armory. And the
Mhm.
episode they dropped today is watch the latest episode of The Armory, where this episode we have a chat with Deepay on roster strategies and Paintbrush reviews his debut game. So this was Paintbrush's first
Okay.
time
Okay.
playing in a league game. And I think that's going to be worth watching once we're done here, just to see what they have to say about it.
Agreed. I am genuinely very curious about it and want to see what he and Deepay have to say.
Yeah. So that's that completely crazy match that nobody expected to be one of the focal matches of the weekend, and yet here we are.
Hmm.
Hi.
Uh, Resuming the
Yes.
run through of this, San Francisco Shock takes down the Atlanta Reign 3-0. We both predicted Shock in that scenario. Up
Look at
next,
my surprised face.
yeah. Up next, the Guangzhou Charge took on the Chengdu Hunters. And Guangzhou came out on top with a narrow 3-2 victory. Hangzhou looked a lot stronger against London, picking up a 3-0 victory themselves. The Dallas Fuel fell to the Paris Eternal 3-0 in the favor of Paris. I picked Dallas, you picked Paris. I gotta say,
Dallas got bullied this weekend. Like I
the
was I was
the
expecting them to play
yeah,
a lot harder.
the first match and a half, the first like map and a half, it was fairly close, but after that, Paris just ran away with it.
Yeah,
Um,
it was that wasn't what I expected from Dallas, honestly. I would not have been surprised if we'd gone to a map 5 on this one. I
yeah,
think we were both expecting that.
yeah, I thought it was going to be a much more closely contested series than it was. I think Nico on the Echo made a huge difference, and Dallas just really didn't adapt to it. And yeah, it's one of those things where I have a lot of little things about how individual maps or engagements could have been played, but it honestly just seemed like Dallas didn't expect it and didn't adapt to it.
Yeah, they got a little boomed.
Yeah. Up
And it
next.
sucks to watch your team get boomed.
Oh yeah, it does. It does. And the thing is, I'm sure they'll come back from it and study it, but like Dallas has always been one of those teams that I feel like they adapt to things a little a little more a little more slowly than other teams do in terms of incorporating new characters or strategies. Like it takes them a little bit of time to be clean about it or have a clean reaction to it.
So still trying to figure out Echo, and Echo played at the ridiculous level that Nico does.
Yeah, where Paris was playing very tightly, very cleanly. It was a combination of this playing very well into Paris's strengths and them executing very well, while I feel that it didn't necessarily give Dallas as much in terms of this hero pool, and they weren't quite ready to use those pieces, especially not on the same level.
Yeah. But Decay still had a runaway game.
I mean, he always does. Like
This is
that's
true.
the level of quality that I expect from him, and the reason I was so excited when he got picked up. Well, one for Dallas this year, but in general, when he got picked up for Overwatch League last year with the
Yeah.
Gladiators.
Yeah. And honestly, I think Paris can only go up from here because once Eggsy recovers, he should be back in the fold. Once Sparkle, I believe Sparkle's still underage, isn't he? We're waiting on him to
Yeah,
turn
I think
18.
he turns 18 in. A, it's
Soon.
later this month or in June. Like it's
Wow. Soon,
he was
then.
close to the cutoff date.
And then once we get Fielder off of 200 ping, and Fielder is still running train on 200 ping.
Oh, absolutely. He's terrifying. Okay, Sparkle comes of age in 10 days.
Dang! All right, so after the May Melee, basically, we just go right back into it.
Yeah.
That's gonna be fun to watch. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where Paris goes and what they do from here. But they're folding more players into their roster and pretty damn good players, so should be fun. Should
Yeah,
be fun.
absolutely.
Can
Um,
you imagine what Exy's Echo looks like?
Honestly, I don't think he'd be the one playing it. I think it's either Nico or it's Sparkle, because if you look at the people that are normally playing the Echo, it's either people who are known for their Genji or Pharah, because projectile and high mobility, and it plays into a similar set of skills in terms of playing angles and focusing in on it. It's basically either projectile players or it's like tracer players. Those are the ones
Legit.
who I think like Echo and how it's sort of ideally played is kind of in their wheelhouse the most. So I don't think Exy would be doing it. I think it's either going to be Nico or it's going to be Sparkle.
Should be fun to watch either way.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very excited to see how this team looks when Sparkle is finally unleashed. And speaking of unleashed, Philadelphia Fusion took on the Vancouver Titans with the 3-0 win. We both picked Philly, and Philly delivered on the debut of Chipsa.
Yay.
Yeah, I remember when that was going on. You texted me, "Okay, who is Chipsa, and why is everyone making such a big deal about him?" And my response basically boiled down to, "He's kind of a meme, and you probably won't like him."
And I actually passed that on to my roommate, and then they started interviewing Chipsa, and she looks at me and goes, "Yeah, I don't know who he is, and I don't like him either." Like, yeah, this is the second they said they were going to start interviewing him, I was like, "Oh god." Usually these player interviews are good.
Yeah, and that's kind of how Chipsa is. Like again, if you wanna see the one thing that I can't wait to see if like he gets played again, if you've ever watched a Chipsa stream or watched a game that Chipsa happened to be in, or watched just Noob Hunter on YouTube. He's great and has generates a lot of Overwatch content, and will do these compilations of funny, epic, or just notable moments that happen in Overwatch. If you watch any of the Chipsa clips, he's known for one dying hilariously, very very consistently, and he's known for hating Widowmaker. I have never seen someone whose two most commonly played heroes are Doomfist and Genji that gets dicked by Widowmakers that fucking routinely. And
I
he
wonder if part of
loses
that's his
his.
reputation.
I don't know, but he tilts off the face of the earth, and it's one of those things that is like genuinely not necessarily just like a part of his stream persona. That's
Like he actually tilts.
yes.
Oh my god.
um the Widowmaker just gets under his skin. He has like a counter on his streams that says games ruined by Widowmaker.
He sounds like a class act.
Yeah, I was interested in seeing what would happen when he got played. I would not call myself a fan.
Eh. I mean, he
Like,
was
j-
solid Doomfist, got through the interview. Interview was terrible. Um he was terrible. The interviewing went fine. So yeah, I don't care. Like, we got the meme. Yay. Can we move on? Philly is going to need to pull out all of the stops for the tournament this weekend.
mhm.
We had our nice little laugh against the Vancouver Titans. Can we go on? We had our meme flex against the team that we knew we would beat up and take their lunch money. Thank you.
And shock of shocks, that's what happened.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I I know a lot of people were just like, Chipsa is known in the community and is kind of a meme in the community, but at the same time, he's also like him getting signed to Philly at all kind of made him like a point of contention among a lot of just among the community as a whole, because a lot of people are like, there are these guys busting their asses in tier two for fucking years to try and earn a shot at this spot. And then the guy whose brother coaches for the team just gets the immediate pickup. Hmm.
Yeah, from
And
streaming.
yeah, and I'm not gonna say that he isn't a talented thing, or that he was purely he isn't a talented player, or that it like I'm not like declaring he was a fucking nepotism hire. Like I'm not making that like accusation. I
No.
just
It stings to
it,
see a Doomfist one trick streamer get this once in a lifetime opportunity when people who have been busting their asses to do it get overlooked.
yeah, and that's why when his signing was announced, people got pissed. Jane, especially, was very vocal about this, kind of being a kick in the face to a lot of people in tier two.
Yeah. Protect
And
tier 2, support them. They are good.
yeah, seriously. And I know that like the Vancouver Titans haven't necessarily given the best example, right? In these first few games as to what tier two can do. But Sideshow had a moment where he was talking he was doing a companion stream to Overwatch League, and said that he just realized that it's Chipsa versus a team of tier two players. He's basically doing like a live refutation of Jane's argument from like 8 months ago. And to me, that, while it's funny to think, to me it isn't necessarily telling the full story, because you know who else came up through tier two just on that roster?
Who
Alarm,
else?
Funny Astro, Hisu. They were all tier two players when Overwatch League started.
Well, and I also think that, oh, well, it's Chipsa against a group of tier 2 people. Yeah, it's a group of tier 2 people. It's not a whole ass tier 2 team that's been playing together. Like, again, it's one thing if you pick up the whole roster and they know each other. It's
Mhm.
another one if you have three people from one roster and then three people from other things, and one of them is still. I think KSAA is also on a really high ping because
I
he's
believe
not
so.
playing stateside.
Yeah, he's still in Saudi Arabia, I think.
So I mean, it's we can only make they came up from tier 2, they haven't played together for very long, etc. We can only make that excuse for so long, but this is also literally the fourth game that they've been in, and Philadelphia Fusion is, I want to say, one of the best teams in the
Oh,
Atlantic
absolutely.
division.
One of
And
the best teams in the league right now. I
yeah,
don't feel like I need to qualify that, but the
yeah, I
point,
don't think they're going to win the tournament, but
yeah,
they're
they're
pretty damn good. So it's not just Chipsa versus a bunch of tier 2 people, it's Chipsa and everyone on Philadelphia Fusion
yeah,
versus a bunch of people who just got brought up from tier 2. Like,
yeah,
I wasn't joking about the lunch money thing. That's kind of what this was.
yeah. And the point that I'm trying to make is that a lot of people we consider to be really really high tier players who have done very very well are tier two graduates, because just going through the list, Fusions, Myunbong, Bernard, friggin' Nene, Who Are You, Mondu, Exy, Sparkle, Hanbin, FD God, Beast, Gator, Pokpo was also tier 2 at the start of Overwatch League, Erster, Edison, Sharp, Masa, Gangnam Jin. Like the list just goes on and on of all these incredible players. Like the original Vancouver Titans roster were all called up from tier two. even
Yeah.
though, frankly, they were competing at the highest level prior to Overwatch League and just kind of didn't get picked up for it at the start because the timing of things just they didn't win big at like the moment that they needed to sort of guarantee that spot.
Yeah. So yeah, that's I can't say I agree with what Sideshow said there because it's not just one dude; it's a whole ass roster
Well, yeah.
against people who are still. And I mean, after let's be real, Vancouver's not making it past the play-in match. Like
No.
it would take a small miracle for that. I'm hoping that they will be able to take the extra time and take the weekend where they will likely not be playing and just be able to do some work together. Like I'm hoping that they're able to take this opportunity to build wow. I almost said cohesion, which is not correct. Team cohesion, because that's really what they need.
Yeah, like it's one of those things where I think they're at a firepower disadvantage to a lot of other teams. They're starting from a way further back position in terms of their having the time to develop and gel as a team before they're kind of thrown into the wolves, as it were. And I think in some ways they're kind of underpowered as a roster compared to a lot of other people. And it will take a lot for this roster to be competitive.
And I mean, there's also only 6 of them. They're kind of doing the season 1 Florida Mayhem where you can't sub anyone out. You know exactly who you're facing every single time. Like they're
Yeah,
lacking that flexibility because the organization has failed to recruit anyone else. Who knows if they even have the budget? I have no idea.
yeah.
So that's not on the players.
No, it's not. Like these guys are doing their best, and
Yep.
credit to them, and I'm rooting for them to get wins and succeed and do better. But at the same time, like I wouldn't say that I'm very hopeful about it, considering the current state of things.
Nah, this is going to be rough for them. And I mean, fuck the organization, but support the new Titans roster. They're doing their best.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Um, so moving on, final matchup, we have the Toronto Defiant versus the LA Valiant, and Valiant squeaks out a narrow 3-2 victory.
They gave me a win for my birthday. I'm
They
happy.
did. They did.
After making me scream my face off for a while.
Yeah,
Guys, stop it, guys.
Defiant continues to look like they're improving, like they're kind of starting to get their legs under them.
Yeah.
So with the latest round of predictions, you are sitting at 19 out of 22 predictions correct, for an average of 0.864. I am at 18 out of 22 for 0.818.
This is the first time I've ever been ahead. It's
I
probably going to be the only time I'm ever ahead.
I don't think
And
so.
I fully recognize that it's only because we dropped the averages from the beginning of the season because nobody wants to go back to the numbers from the before times.
I
Like,
don't
I'll take it.
I don't think it's the first time. I think it happened towards the start when we started doing it initially as well. But then after that, like I had a bit of a winning streak on that end. But
It's almost like you're here for the analysis and I'm here for the funny commentary.
yeah, hey,
Anyway, I'll take it.
I'm just saying it wasn't entirely accurate. Give yourself a little more credit.
I refuse. Never. Who needs credit? Anyway, as always, between our nice 2 big sections of the podcast, we want to take a minute and talk to you guys about our sponsor, Fred's BS, Breads and Spreads by Fred. Right now, it's just breads, and by breads, I mean cookies, and by cookies, I mean Brown Sugar Buddies, which are some of the best cookies I have ever had. They're like a cross between a ginger snap and a spice cookie and a snickerdoodle. They are spiced and they're soft and they're chewy and they are incredible. They go very, very well dunked into your hot drink of choice, cocoa or coffee or tea or whatever it is. I would recommend putting Nutella and or peanut butter on them. They would also make very good cookies for ice cream sandwiches now that we are going into the summer months. or we're close to going into the summer month. Look, it's like 80 to 90 degrees in LA on the regular. So, as far as I'm concerned, we've passed our week and a half of spring and now it's summer. Regardless, the cookies are amazing. You should absolutely get some and treat yourself because life is hard right now and you deserve good things. So, everything that Fred makes is fresh, never frozen. Everything is made in small batches to preserve those unique flavors. You cannot find these in stores, you can only get them from Fred. Um, Usually, I'd say if you're an LA local, you can do pickup instead of delivery and get your goods even sooner. I would contact Fred on that one because, with the way things are right now during the global pandemic, his policy may have changed. So, ask him about pickup if you are a local human. You can order these wonderful cookies by going to fredhebakes.com, fredhebakes.com, and ordering yourself some wonderful, wonderful brown sugar buddies. And of course, use coupon code on the point for 20% off your entire offer. That is fredhebakes.com, coupon code on the point. Fred's BS. Treat yourself because you deserve it. I
All
could use
right.
some of those cookies right now, honestly.
Oh god, yeah, no, that'd be nice.
Yes, please. Alrighty, on to the news section, and oh, things have occurred. I feel like we've been playing a lot of musical chairs with players recently, especially over the past few weeks.
Yeah, just because a lot of very high level free agents have recently become available, a lot of teams have lost players, and with the with a lot of teams losing players, a lot of good free agents, especially in the roster of the Vancouver Titans, the first roster, I should say, becoming available. It makes sense that a lot of teams are looking to try and make these pickups now, especially because if they can get those pieces into place before the May Melee and incorporate them, that could be, that could go a long way towards helping them succeed in that and beyond.
Yeah. So first we have Architect going to the Spark, and I've seen Sparkitect as
Yeah.
my favorite term for this. And
Yeah.
also the fact that they did whoever is doing publicity for Hangzhou and for San Francisco, they got together and did a little Animal Crossing bit about, oh, Architect is in boxes. Oh, well, he's going to Sparks Island. Bye. Like, it was super cute.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm kind of happy to see it. Like, obviously, I'm sure that San Francisco fans are not happy to lose him, but for me, it's kind of cool because prior to the advent of the Overwatch League, he and most of the Hangzhou Sparks core roster were on the same team together.
So he's basically going home.
Yeah, more or less, that's what's happening because they were all part of a team called X6 Gaming. And the X6 Gaming crew, well, they kind of went all over the place. Like, not all of them went to Hangzhou, but in terms of who went to Hangzhou, it was Ria, Godsby, No Smite, and Bebe. But prior to that, they had Choi Hyobin and Architect as well. So
Huh.
they're when they were on a team together, their roster was No Smite, Godsby, Bebe, I think it was Roki, Choi Hyobin, and Architect.
That's a bonkers roster.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, and so I'm happy to see the Architect and Godsby DPS duo back together again because one, it's a bit of nostalgia for me, and they're both really, really good. And I think with Hangzhou, like one of their weaknesses has been that their DPS line, you have a great DPS player in Godsby that can pop off at any time, but the his partners are have generally been consistent but not the same level of threat. And I feel like that when you have an identifiable like thing you need to focus, that gives them it creates a weakness in your team that can be noticed and exploited.
Okay.
And so, yeah, having two huge pop off threats means they can't take their eyes off of one.
That will be fun to watch in the upcoming tournament.
Yeah, yeah, and I honestly think it's entirely possible that he integrates into this roster very, very quickly.
Well, it's a little bit like riding a bike.
Yeah, yeah, he's played with these guys. Their coach Mask was also part of X6 Gaming with them. So yeah, there's a lot of familiar pieces coming back into play.
So yeah, that is going to be fun. We're going to miss him on the shock, not going to lie.
Oh,
But
for
that'll
sure.
be fun. Speaking of the shock, they've picked up Twilight.
Yeah, and that is such a huge pickup for them, I think, because one, they definitely do have a great flex support currently in Violet. But
Hmm.
one thing that I think is worth noting is one, Twilight is pretty vocal, like he's a smart player. And the other thing is, so sometimes we would see Architect go onto the flex support role for one hero specifically, Ana.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, if you go back and look at the past times that the San Francisco Shock have subbed in Architect instead of Violet, he's pretty much always playing Ana.
So now we have Twilight, who is amazing.
Yeah, and I think kind of fills a hole for this team in terms of having a really good, dedicated Ana player.
Twilight and Moth are terrifying support duo.
Yeah, that's fucking terrifying. And
I
don't get
can't
me,
wait.
yeah, and Violet is great. Like, I don't think they're going to be in a bad spot either way, but like, yeah, the Shock only continue to sort of consolidate their power.
The Shock are like, what if we pick up this amazing player, and this amazing player, and this one? And we somehow integrate them all pretty much seamlessly into our team so we can swap out as needed. What if we just do that?
I'll say it again. Krusty is the best coach in Overwatch. He just is.
This is something he played a super long game. We never would have expected this sort of thing from them after season one.
Well,
And
the
then
thing
season
is,
two, they just show up and run train.
well, to a certain extent, it is kind of what I expected. Like, I thought going into season two, how to put this? I saw the season two Shock and thought they were going to be really good, but maybe not the best team in the league. They were a team that really did, even before signing Krusty, because they only got Krusty like stage 3 of season one. Um, Prior to that, the guy in charge was Sefi, who is currently the coach and general manager of Atlanta.
That's right.
So yeah, they definitely built a team. They adopted the strategy of building a team for long term success, and it has really paid off. They've built an incredible core of very talented players that can be built off of. In hiring Krusty, they have one of the best like complete package coaches that you can have in Overwatch, and it's just it's I can't say enough positive about it as a system, really.
And I mean, obviously, it showed results. Look at season two and look at what we've had so far from season three.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think that they do look a little weaker than their season two peak right now, just because of all the changes in the hero pools. But
Yeah.
that'd throw anyone off their game, and I don't think that it necessarily is indicative of them not being a top tier team anymore. They absolutely are stacked to the tits on stage and behind stage.
Well, and I also don't think we can discount the effect that playing from home has on everyone. Like, shit's going down right now in the
Yeah,
larger world, and that affects everyone everywhere. So, I don't think we can discount that effect on players and level of play.
yeah, for sure. Especially in an environment like Overwatch, where being on the same page as the rest of your team And like the thing is, Overwatch is one of I think in terms of the highest tier of professional esports, it is probably the most grueling as a player in terms of you know all the shit you need to do to stay at that top level.
Oh yeah.
Like
It's bonkers. This is why we see so many players burning out and why they're worrying a little more now about okay, but physical health and mental health and not just all this other stuff.
yeah,
Like,
and that was one of my biggest concerns in adopting this franchise traveling model going into season 3 even prior to the COVID-19 outbreak.
yeah.
It's
Well, I
just
mean, the COVID-19 outbreak just shut down most travel, so
well, yeah. The point I'm making is that this system, you know, being a top level Overwatch Pro is very very hard because of the constantly shifting, um, with heroes being changed, balance being tweaked, having such a huge pool of maps that you need to practice. Like, there's so many variables that you need to constantly work on if you want to be at that highest level, that it's ridiculously hard even when you're not going to be traveling very consistently or dealing with a ton of these outside stressors like the COVID-19 outbreak.
basically being a professional Overwatch player is hard to do.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons like the tier 2 scene is so important, because in these situations we've seen the effect of burnout already. You know, how many players have we seen say that they don't love the game in the way that they used to?
I
How
mean,
many
Sinatra retired.
Yeah, how many retirements at the top level and at the tier 2 level have we seen? How many people have said I need to take a break? This is, I think, the biggest stress test that we could have for Overwatch as an esports scene. And if the situation doesn't improve right now, I mean, I wouldn't be super hopeful for season 5 of the Overwatch League.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, some of us are having trouble looking past the end of the month.
Yeah, I'm just like, in
Yeah.
terms of cultivating a healthy scene, you need to be able to see the perpetuation of like creating new stars. Like, you know, in wrestling, we had the era of Hulk Hogan being the number one star, and then we had the era of, you know, Bret Hart, and then we had like Stone Cold, and then we had The Rock, and all of that. Like, you need to be able to create new stars who can come up and fill the spots vacated by the old ones, because even even in something that's not necessarily this taxing, no one's going to be around forever.
This is true. Yeah. Pulling it back a little bit from the future into a little more of the present, we're going back to Boston.
Yeah, Boston picking up Mikey.
I don't know who that is.
So I don't blame you, because he is someone who is relatively new to playing in the competitive scene compared to a lot of other players. He made his, I think his, the earliest pro games that I could find were playing in early 2019. In like January of 2019 is kind of when he started playing at a pro level.
Oh, wow.
Um,
So he's new, new.
yeah, and he had basically, he's most known for the time that he spent in Sky Foxes and Noble, both of whom are in Contenders NA. He is
Sky
a
Foxes is a name I recognize.
well, yeah, Sky Foxes, I think, has gone through the most roster changes out of any team in Overwatch.
Dang.
So they started in March of 2018. That was their debut. And people who have played for them, I'm going to start counting here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66. Yes.
Oh, I was hoping you'd stop at 69. Damn.
Unfortunately, that's not the world we live in. We're not allowed to have nice things.
Were you just looking at their Wikipedia page?
Yes. The thing is, though,
Okay.
the thing is, I've known a lot of the players who have come in and out of their roster over time, and a lot of those names will probably be familiar. Asking, that guy who kind of got screwed out of the collapse of the trade with Fusion's going
Yep.
to yeah,
To
he's one of
Valiant.
yeah, he's played for them. Verbo from the Valiant has been their operations manager until recently. They had Kalios, who was on season one Boston. They had Zoms and Buds, who were two big parts of sort of like early Overwatch. Swimmer from up until recently, Boston. Ace of Spades, who's been a big name in the tier 2, 3 scene for a while. They Lastro, who is now on the Valiant. Who Are You, loaned from Fusion University. Clone Man, who's a big streamer who's had some tier 2 success. Hoon, who I believe who was considered to be like the second best off tank in Korea for a good long while. They had Elk, they had Karkar, who's currently on the Vancouver Titans. They've had a
So
shit ton of players who have been notable to one degree or another come through their auspices.
so their alumni reunion is just bonkers.
Their alumni reunion is the fucking portal scene from Avengers Endgame, essentially, in terms of the Overwatch scene.
And now they're sending Mikey up to Boston.
Yes, he's shipping off to Boston. So Mikey is a main tank player, which is
Hmm.
interesting because I'm wondering sort of where the division of labor between him and Fusions will be. Because I wonder if it's not going to be something like what Paris is doing, where Ben Best is on there and he's mostly their Reinhardt specialist. Whereas if you are planning on playing other things like Winston and Orisa, they tend to put in No Smite.
So, what do you think that Mikey will wind up being the specialist, or do you think Fusions will?
I think Fusions might be the Reinhardt specialist. The thing is, I don't know sort of I don't know how things will be affected by that because Fusions is such a vocal battlefield leader for this roster that I'm not sure I'm not sure like what their comm structure looks like without him in the mix.
Hmm. I guess we'll find out. Maybe.
I guess that we will.
Still, Boston inching upwards from having 6 players only. Yay.
Yeah,
Good.
they now have at least one backup, and Axiom is still signed to the team. He's just inactive.
Legit. And
Yeah,
moving on
Justice
to Justice.
talked about it a little bit before, but they picked up Johnny and Stitch on 2-week contracts.
I find it hilarious now that Reinforce is unable to let the idea of 2-week contracts go.
I
That it's kind of his go-to analysis at this. I find this hysterical.
it reminds me of, and this is a really weird poll, but there's a wrestling company called TNA. And there was this one storyline they were doing with a guy who used to be the actual real life owner and founder of the company, who was a wrestler, and he's not in charge anymore, but they're having this whole storyline about him being like the heart and soul of TNA. And he gets beat up at one point and then goes in to argue with the guy who sicked the fucking thugs on him. And every time he's like, "You think you can run me out of this place? You can't run me out of this place. I built this place. It's going to take a lot more than 6 thugs to get rid of me." And then every time he says something, it just ends with more than 6 thugs. And it's just like
more than 2 weeks.
More than 2 weeks. And honestly, despite the fact that Johnny is kind of going for the KFC's double down on bringing that up as much as humanly possible, I
Yeah.
kind of agree with him. I think the 2 weeks thing is maybe, like, I don't know if that's how they were able to kind of get Janu and Stitch. If it's like, hey, trial period, see how you like it. If you want it, you can stay. I don't know if that was like something that they were sort of lured in by having that option to just be like, all right, I'm out. And, you know, them not wanting to deal with this same shit again that they dealt with the Vancouver Titans organization. I don't know if that was Vancouver or not Vancouver, Washington coming up with that. I don't know whose idea that was, but I feel like even unless everything clicks almost instantly, and it very rarely does, 2 weeks is way too small an amount of time to really develop synergy and make them a part of the team and develop their full um
Potential.
potential
Yeah.
with that roster.
I mean, the Vancouver Titans have been together for 2 weeks, and we're still talking about the need for team cohesion. I wonder if the 2-week contract wasn't something of an act of desperation. You're the Washington Justice, you're down to DPS, you've got 5 people, you've got 6, but one of them is still in visa hell.
Yeah.
So you've essentially got 5 people, and you're staring down the barrel of a forfeiture of your next match. You try to pick up these 2 players. They may still be leery about signing on to another team after how badly the Titans organization screwed them over.
Yeah.
I have to wonder if, okay, just a 2-week contract, it gives us a little more time to figure things out, cast a wider net. It gives you time to figure out if you want to do this, and we're set through the May melee.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of what I figure is going on here. But we'll see. What I found weird is because I went on their site today, because I've just had a brain fart as to who they recruited.
Mm-hmm.
Stratus is still listed as an active player on their website.
Yeah,
Corey's gone,
yeah.
but Stratus is still listed as active.
Well, I think it's because he's still at least part of the organization as a content creator. Like,
Yeah, but
maybe
no one
that's
else lists their content creators in their player section.
no one else assigned people to 14-day contracts, but here we are.
This is true. I legit just think that they haven't updated their site yet. Well, no, that doesn't make any
Yeah,
sense because Stitch and Johnny were on there. I
yeah,
give up. I don't know what they're doing.
yeah. And I think like maybe they're leaving him on there just because Stratus is a big part of their branding.
True.
Like, he's a big amount of personality for the team and was part of their identity. It was like him and Corey that were kind of like the personality of Washington Justice.
I mean, I want to say Sleepy was on there too when they had him, and then they let go of him, and I still don't understand that.
Yeah, it's. I would rather have. I would have dropped Guido and kept Sleepy, and if possible, I still would rather have Sleepy over Aim God, despite the fact that Aim God is very good.
There's no reason for Sleepy to be a free agent at this time when people need players.
Well, he's
Like,
doing well as a streamer for himself.
oh,
He seems to
yeah.
be having a lot of fun with that and growing an audience. Like, he's really put in the work to make that a thing for himself. But
Yeah, I'm just saying that I think it was a series of poor decisions to let him go.
yeah,
I'm biased.
no,
I am so biased.
I honestly agree. Like, I think the Washington Justice has continually pointed a gun at their own foot.
Speaking of, might as well go on to it. They also released Ballin and Bonnie.
Yes,
They released them a
Ballin.
couple of days ago.
Yes, Ballin, who was up until recently their team's general manager, and Banny, formerly of the Houston Outlaws, who was their individual coach. So he was kind of working with the players on a 1v1 level to help them develop their gameplay.
And that announcement was, I don't have it pulled up, but it's it's very different from the usual "hey, we're letting someone go" announcement. It was basically talking about, in an attempt to fix issues within the organization, we're letting these two go effective immediately.
To
You
better
know,
equip
thanks
our
for your help.
competitive team for success, we are announcing the release of Annalyn Ball and Dang and Chris Banny Bennell from their roles effective immediately. We are looking forward to our first match of the May Melee on May 22nd and the remainder of the 2020 Overwatch League season. Please join us in wishing them the best on their next endeavors.
Yeah, that's how you fire someone after a scandal.
Yeah, and so far the the community has reacted with just befuddlement, confusion, or frustration.
I
Linkser,
think
wait, what? Bren, question mark. Raucous, awful. Dogman, ooh. Jane, question mark. Spam. Also question mark spam from Dante. Like, um,
my favorite on there is all in caps injustice from Bishu.
yeah.
From Bishu. We were talking last week about how the character of the person giving an endorsement says a heck of a lot about the endorsement themselves and the person that
Mhm.
they're endorsing. Bishu is one of those people that I would trust in terms of good head on their shoulders, good
Mhm.
personality. Him calling this out, yee. When you've got Bishu that riled, you done fucked up.
Yeah, and it's really confusing to me, especially because John Galt, who's the head coach, went out of his way to say that he thought Banny was a great coach and it was, he brought a lot to the team and spoke very highly of him. And it's one of those things that, like, looking at this situation right now, what confuses me is why they would, you know, maybe not scout promising tier 2 talent to bolster their roster or wait for the end of a season to make crucial like hiring and firing decisions in terms of their behind the scenes personnel and just go to, well, today we say goodbye to,
Our
like,
general manager and one of our coaches. And I mean, Ballin's resume is amazing in terms of GMing and what she's done. Like, she knows her shit. So there's not a lot of reason to drop her suddenly like this.
yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. And again, people people have spoken out in their favor. Like, Corey went out of his way to say, if people thought Ballin was the problem, they're crazy.
Yeah, which makes me wonder if there wasn't another level to Corey leaving as well.
Yeah, and one thing I kind of want to bring up here because it was brought up as well, and I think it's kind of interesting by contrast. Avast tweeted about the departure of Ballin and Banny and how that was handled versus how the departure of Kate Mitchell was handled.
Well, Kate also left.
Yeah, but her, she got a more, I think, she got a more
Respectful.
warm and respectful send off.
And
And
Flame was actually talking about this
mhm,
for a bit as well.
yeah, and yeah, Ballin on her tweet, says that she's collecting her thoughts and will write more after some time to process, which makes it sound like this was kind of a sudden decision.
She put
Um,
up a tweet longer earlier today.
yes, she did.
Yeah.
I don't understand why. I don't get why teams
Why
that
they
fire
do
their
this.
general manager mid-season generally have not done well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it is interesting to me, and I how to put this. I think a lot of the shit that Kate Mitchell got from the community was pure sexism. And at the same time, the scandals revolving around the second win roster getting promised that they would be picked up and then that not happening. And then the Washington Justice, that basically giving Harsha a job offer. He left the San Francisco Shock and then retracting that.
Yeek.
So Avast's tweet was, "Gotta love how this team's previous GM destroyed their team beyond repair, both competitively and internally, the previous season, and they got a way more respectful send off than Ballin."
Yeah, like again, this send off sounds a lot like you're getting rid of someone who got into trouble, who caused a scandal. This is a lot like, all right, bye, Muffin. All right, bye. Just, we don't want to.
Yeah, I don't get this.
Instead of two shining personalities and two lovely people.
Yeah, I genuinely do not see anyone in the scene at all having anything other than good things to say about them.
Yeah, so like if you want to go in a different direction, that's one thing. But this send off, I saw someone wipe the text and just put "there is no war" and "bossing say" on there. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a little bit what this feels like. Yikes. There's rumors that the Justice might be going in an all Korean direction, which, I mean, if that's what you want to do, at
Well,
least
their
own it.
their roster is all Korean right now in terms of the people they're fielding.
Yeah, Lulzish and Elevator kind of.
Well, yeah, Lolzish, I don't know. Like, someone let him out of the fucking Phantom Zone.
Yeah,
Like,
jeez. He's still in visa hell, isn't he? Like, does he have his visa or
yeah,
is he still in
it's just
paperwork
there's
purgatory?
no fucking way that Stitch and Janu weren't playing remotely on very high ping, because last we heard from them, they're in Korea, and this happened so quickly and was only on a 14-day contract that they would need a fucking wizard on their team to have them playing from America. Like,
Yeah, no, no. Like, and we would have heard about that.
yeah, why not give Lulzish and Elevote a chance to be the front line, considering you're paying for his fucking contract? And like, as much as I like Roar and want him to succeed, he's just not doing well for them right now. And if you're gonna pick up people to supplement their roster and you want to go in an all Korean direction, that's fine. But like, I still think I think picking up someone like Kaiser would have been a better pickup than Janu in terms of what this team needs. And I'm not saying that I don't love Janu and don't want him to be on a team, because I do. I'm just saying that Elevote and his performance has not been, I think, a factor in this team not living up to what they could potentially be doing.
Yeah, and it also makes me lean back and wonder about Corey and Stratus's retirements, about whether or not this was a writing on the wall sort of thing, and they knew that it would eventually be in this direction and might as well get when the getting is good, or if they both decided, hey, we're going to do the thing, and then the Justice saw that and went, you know what, maybe we just should go all Korean. I don't know. I have no idea what's going on back there. Obviously, nobody does. And the people who do are presumably either under NDAs or don't want to. Like, if even if you're the one that's wronged, if you come out spreading dirty laundry, it makes you look bad. And it makes people not want to hire you because you can't keep your mouth shut when you get laid off. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
can't win in this situation. There is no way to win. You can only move forward. And so far, I don't think I've seen anything from Banny, but I haven't looked. Ballin has been a class act so far.
I am in no way surprised by this.
I am sure she will be picked up in a hot second, and
Yeah.
any organization in the league or in tier two or wherever would be lucky to have her.
Okay, all Benny has said so far that I can see is I'm no longer with the Washington Justice. It was a pleasure working with the GMs, coaches, and players. Hope to see you guys succeed. I might create a twit longer later with my thoughts coalesced.
Yeah.
So
So
far, that
again,
is
you
all that I can see for that.
so either you're under NDA or you're just not going to say anything because again, there's no way to win that battle. You can't.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't. You got to move on and it sucks. But again, they're lovely humans. It sounds like they're great people to work with,
Mm-hmm.
and any organization would be lucky to have either of them. I don't know enough about Banny's coaching history to be able to say whether or not someone will go after him immediately,
This was
but
his first coaching job.
yeah, yeah, but it is high praise from John Galt. Ballin, I will be amazed if she doesn't have a new job by June.
Yeah,
And I
I
realize that's like
yeah
10 days from now, and I don't care. That's where I'm putting this.
I think there's a lot of teams that could benefit by having someone like her in the office. Just absolutely.
So yeah, so that's that. Let's head on to something a little lighter and talk a little bit about the Lone Star Challenge.
Yeah, it
Now,
was a lot of fun.
I'm particularly fond of this whole thing, honestly.
Mhm.
For those of you who aren't familiar, the Lone Star Challenge was sponsored by what was it, Samsung?
It was sponsored
And
by a lot of people.
I think the main one that they shouted out was like Samsung being like, thank you for helping us put this on. Like that was the big main one. And then HEB in favor and a whole bunch of local Texas
Mhm.
businesses.
Yeah.
But it was Houston versus Dallas. And there were several weeks of one on one and three on three matches and determining things. And that went to determine who would pick the maps for the 6 on 6, which was earlier this week. And Bren and Jake casted it. It was a lot of fun to watch. I guess there's a docu series that aired on local channels in
Mhm.
Houston and in Dallas. Like it was a
Yeah.
whole big thing. And I
Yeah,
have to say
and
that Raucus's HEB commercial that they keep showing just
oh
gives
god,
me life. It's cute as hell.
I love it. I really fucking love it.
But it
And
was just, I really like that they did this at all.
yeah.
I like that they took this rivalry and that they really went into everyone on the teams and really got to like interview them and talk about all their different stuff. Like, really made them players, made them personable, and then aired it on local channels, pretty much going, hey, Houston, hey, Dallas, here is a new local team for you guys. We know football's not playing, baseball's not playing, but hey, this sport's going on, and these are your local guys. Look at these personalities. This guy calls his mom every week. This guy has a beautiful dog and a cat, and they're so cute. Like, just get to know your local team and bring them in and support them. And I think this is brilliant on the part of the organizations. And I
I
would
could
love to
not
see
agree
other
more.
teams do this.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like, I think really sort of going out of your way to just do stuff in the local area and sort of connect this team with the town goes so far in terms of building a consistent fan base and a passionate one and making it like a part of your like community sort of spirit. um and I know other teams have done similar like things. Like other teams have definitely done events and done stuff to sort of reach out to the locals, but I feel like this is the most high profile we're seeing like right now.
Oh, yeah. And the fact that they're able to play up this, hey, Texas, you've got two teams in two very big cities. Let's play up this rivalry. And there's not a better time to do it when, in person sports are stopped for now. So we're looking to marble racing and reruns and God knows what else. And it's reaching out to people who are
Mhm.
watching their local news, their local whatever, and going, hey, here's this video game sport you can watch. And here's all the local humans who are playing it. Get to know them. Hey, one of them with the really good hair has a commercial with HEB. Hey, if you use this other one's promo code for favor that has their team name in it, you can get $10 off your delivery, which
Mhm.
I'm sure delivery is just hand over fist right now making money. So,
Oh, yeah.
use this team code. So it this made a lot of sense to me, and it was
Yeah.
very well produced, very well done. I am so proud of both of these teams. This was great.
Yeah, no, I want more like this, and I think that it was a really great way of, like, building that friendly rivalry and making it more of a thing. Because they didn't
Yeah.
just play, a best of 7 against each other, but they also played, like, Widow 1v1s and, like, 3v3s and a whole bunch of other little, like, fun, just little competitions between the teams, which I love it.
Yeah, it was great. And I mean,
So,
I'm also happy because Houston took the best of 7.
yes, they
I'll
did.
always be happy for that. Dallas has had a rough week.
Yeah.
But this was so much bigger than all of that, and it was so well done, and it was just charming,
Also,
and
the
I thought that was
production
great.
quality was really, really high.
Yeah!
Like, I it was honestly a little better in terms of just the technical aspect than the main Overwatch League stream.
Yeah, but it was also a smaller scope.
It's true. It's true. There's way, way, way fewer balls in the air on that front. I'm
Yeah.
just saying it was very impressive.
Oh, yeah. No, this was very well done, and again, I
Yeah.
want other people and other rivalries to do this. I want the LA teams to do this.
Oh yeah.
And you can't
I
tell me that local LA people won't pull for their teams if they knew they existed. Like Kings fans know that the Valiant exists because
mhm,
the Valiant does team nights there on occasion. I don't think they know
yeah.
anything about what the Valiant's about, but they know that they exist and like it's a
Mhm.
start.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, you've got you can do that. You can have New York and Boston do shit, New York and Philly, because those teams have historic sports rivalries.
Philly and Boston,
Yeah,
like you're
well,
all kind of in that area. Go for it.
I was just saying like New York and those two specifically because I feel like they
True.
have like with Boston and New York, there's the baseball thing, and then just everybody hates Boston because of football. Like, and like I'll say this as a Yankees fan, the New England Patriots are the New York Yankees of football because everyone who is not a fan of theirs wants them to lose.
It's kind of a meme at this point.
Yes.
And I mean, stuff like Deflategate or whatever it was didn't really help, but
No. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like trust me, I'm very much in the fuck the Patriots camp, but like
Yeah.
all one thing I do want to harp on real quick, just because this made me very happy and is happening in 10 days. We're getting a show match between two of the biggest pre-Overwatch League teams.
Yeah?
Yes, so it is going to be a show match May 31st between Lunatic High, the original roster of players who went on to become the Seoul Dynasty, Miro, the guy who innovated Winston gameplay and is the reason it's played the way it is today, he's coming back.
Oh, wow.
Zunba, who was stapled to the bench by the Seoul Dynasty, he's going to be playing in there as well. Who Are You and Lee Tae-jun, both of whom played DPS for Lunatic High, are going to be there as well. And their support line, Toby and Guido. However, Ryu Jae-hong has expressed interest in doing this. So we might see the championship squad from Lunatic High come back for another ride.
And who are they playing?
Runaway.
Oh.
with a front line
Oh.
of Bumper and Kaiser,
Oh.
a DPS line of Haksal and Stitch, and
Oh,
bringing
wow.
up the rear, Twilight and Runner himself.
Wow.
Just you can imagine, like, when this was initially announced, I was very excited. And then they say everyone who's going to be playing in it, and I just hear the Portals Avengers Endgame music just like playing in the back of my brain.
On your left. And
Yes,
it's Bumper
basically.
hiding behind a corner, ready to do a
Yeah.
corner shatter.
Yes. So,
Holy shit.
yes. It will be on the Overwatch official Twitch and YouTube channel for Korea. I don't know if it's going to be broadcast as well on the English channels, but
You
it,
say that like it'll stop us.
yeah. But if you want to see two teams that were historic in the development of the Overwatch esports scene and culture, watch this.
So that's on the 31st. Do we have any idea what time?
They said the page just says detailed time update. I don't see a given hour, but it will probably be, in the earlier hours.
Okay, and this is on the Overwatch League site?
Yes, right. Well, I'm reading it translated off of the Korean Overwatch, like, official site.
Ah, okay. Well, this should be fun.
Yes, I'm dumb excited to see this, especially because I feel like it could put eyes on Kaiser in a way that he really deserves. Kaiser is one of those players who has consistently been at the highest level in Overwatch, but just has not been given an opportunity at Overwatch League.
Well, hopefully this will change that. I can't imagine that teams who are still hurting for players would balk at recruiting someone who's that good with that pedigree.
Yeah, like, because the thing is, as with Runaway, second place finish at Overwatch Apex Season 2, Overwatch Apex Season 4, and APAC Premier 2017. Played with Cloud9 NA. Then back to Runaway for another spell before he got picked up by GGEA, which was Optic Academy, which was like Optic. It was the Houston Outlaws team, which that ended up imploding because of budgetary and mismanagement issues. But he's come back and consistently finished as part of first Stormquake and then O2 Blast, has been consistently in the upper echelon of Korean contenders. This dude can go. And any team that is having main tank issues should seriously be looking at him as a potential pickup. And the fact that he hasn't been picked up yet genuinely pisses me off. Because he fucking deserves it.
Well, hopefully this puts him in a big enough spotlight for someone to figure it out.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, that will be fun. That you got me excited for that.
Yeah, I know. It's definitely something that I cannot wait to see.
And if it winds up being at fuck o'clock in the morning, which it honestly probably will be, that is why God gave us VOD.
Yep, I'm
It
watching live
will
anyway.
happen. Yeah, you will. Some of us work. Just this lovely thing called a day job that doesn't stop.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very fortunate to have it, but it also prevents me from watching the fun late night matches.
Yeah.
A balance. All right. So we are on to predictions. And again, we are recording this on Thursday. The play in match for the NA tournament doesn't happen until tomorrow.
And
So
then
you can't,
everything goes
yeah.
immediately after.
So you can't really build a bracket without being psychic because we don't know which top four teams have picked who they'll pick for their opponents. That sentence really got away from me, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, they're not making their picks until we figure out if it's going to be Vancouver or Toronto. And let's be real, it's going to be Toronto. But there's, you still got to leave it open. So
Mhm.
those top four teams aren't making their picks. So we won't know what the schedule is and won't be able to pick individual matches. So I kind of figure for both tournaments, we should just pick an overall winning team and see how we do.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go with the Shock on this.
Oh, hard same.
I will say
It's
though, I expect a very strong performance out of Philadelphia, out of Paris, and out of Gladiators.
despite their performance this weekend.
Yes.
You think they'll come roaring back, as it were?
They tend to. The thing is I don't think that they take losses. I think the structure and culture that DPay has built, they don't necessarily get discouraged by losses. I don't think that it is necessarily going to affect their mentality or the level at which they play coming into this. These guys are
All
hungry
right.
and they want to succeed. I think Philly is looking very, very strong right now, and we'll finally have an opportunity to see what they look like at the very top level of the Pacific Division. Um,
Yeah.
I think Paris is poised. Paris could really potentially play dark horse here. I think because with obviously with things being no hero pool, just do whatever. That does change things a great deal. But if the Echo dive is a common component of what gets played, it's something they're very, very good at.
So you think we'll see Echo Dive more than we see May comps?
I think it will be kind of map dependent. I think on maps with more high ground and sort of more open spaces for people to sort of play an aerial hero like Echo and be able to sort of take different angles and stuff, it is very likely we'll see that. I think May comps are also going to be something we see a lot of. I think it depends on maps. It depends on teams' individual strengths and sort of the strategies that they're pursuing. I think that's going to be one of the biggest deciders.
So, and the last time I said this, I regretted it, but here we go again. It's less a question of who we think will come out on top, who we think will win, and more who the top contenders will be overall.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I do think that any of these teams hypothetically has the capability to play spoiler. I wouldn't pick the Mayhem over the Shock,
No.
but the thing is, the Mayhem have evolved to a point where they look like they could hypothetically compete with these teams. I still think that they are behind. I would say that the Mayhem and the Rain are probably the weakest teams that we currently
Really?
have picked out of everything.
Yeah, because we
Um,
still have Houston, Boston, etc., waiting to be picked. What we're seeing on the schedule page
yeah,
right now, obviously, isn't everyone. And then we don't know who's going to pick Toronto. Because, again, we can call a winner for Vancouver, Toronto, but
mhm,
I will be amazed if it's
yeah,
Vancouver.
yeah. It's like out of everyone on the board right now, I think Florida and Atlanta currently are the weakest. However, when you put in, honestly, I think Houston has potential to do well too if the Echo dive is strong right now.
Yeah. So we'll also see who picks who.
Yeah,
It's
that.
possible that Dallas will try to pick Houston for a rematch if they can.
Mhm,
And we don't know who's going to pick who there, and then we have four teams with a bye,
mhm.
which is also interesting. So this is just a whole lot of we'll see on the NA side, and I'm very excited to see it.
Yeah, and I think Shock. My bet is that Shock will win it. but I think that Gladiators, Fusion, and Paris have the potential to put on really strong performances and are probably the best candidates for an upset. I think Dallas is probably going to have a mid-table finish. I think Houston will probably have a mid-table finish, with potential to be a little higher if the Echo Dive is strong. Um, yeah, that's kind of my predictions for how this shapes up right now.
I'll roll with it. Like I think you got it on that one. I would like to see my boys do a little better, but again, you peg Shock as the winner and then put a few under them, and I love the Valiant, but I don't think they're quite at the top tier yet.
Yeah, I think that they have the potential to get there and come up with inventive strategies, but I think right now, like other the very top tier of teams are just a step ahead.
Yeah. And the rankings that we have right now are looking only at matches played in May for this tournament. We're not
Yeah.
looking at the overall rankings for the season, which tell a different story.
Yes.
So, moving on to the APAC side of things, we have Guangzhou with a bye and everyone else facing off. We've got Seoul and Spark, which I can see being a close one, honestly,
Yeah,
depending on how they play.
I can see that being a banger. Especially if Seoul shows up because they've been very up and down in terms of performance right now. I could very if they play at the level that they did when they got the win off of the Dragons, I think they could come out ahead. But the thing is, you need to take into account that the Hangzhou Spark now have Architect in
This
their
is
pocket,
true.
and that is a very powerful tool for them. And it's like we said, there's a very good chance that because of his familiarity with the majority of this team and coaching staff, that he's able to integrate very quickly. And I think a DPS duo of Architect and Godsby has the potential to be fucking devastating. And with with Soul being kind of feast or famine in terms of two of their components in Marvel and in Fitz,
I would go
I,
with Spark on this one.
I would go with Spark. I think if Soul incorporates slime and they play at the upper end of their performance, it's not impossible. But I think the Spark winning is the much more likely outcome.
Yeah, well, Spark is consistent, a little more consistent, I want to say, this season than Soul has been.
I would say much more.
Eh, yes.
Like even in the matches that they lost, like their strengths were still their strengths, their weaknesses were still their weaknesses. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't like it wasn't that their performance just varied wildly in quality to the level that Souls has.
And the difference between Seoul and Chengdu is Chengdu, we expect that. And Chengdu just kind of goes wild and does what they want. It's part of their personality.
Mm-hmm.
Seoul is steadier,
I think Soul
usually.
is just fucking cursed at this point, to be honest with you.
I mean, yeah. We thought they were going to be one of the top contenders in season one, and they've just never really done that.
Yeah, it's that's exactly the thing. It's just any roster that they have put together with any coaching staff made to back them up, they are just continually uneven.
Yeah. It's, I don't know what the solution to that one is. I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
But well, probably don't see them making it unless they. I think you're right. Unless they play absolutely gangbusters, I don't see them making it past the spark.
Yeah, it's not impossible, and if they play at the top level that they can, they definitely have the capability to do it. But right now, I think the Spark looks like the stronger team, especially with the incorporation of Architect.
Yeah,
If he is not ready to play with them when this happens, I think the margin narrows, but I would still give the Spark a slight lead.
yeah. So moving on to NYXL versus Chengdu.
I'm gonna go New York on this one.
Same. I think that Chengdu could probably fight pretty hard, but I don't see them taking it.
This is the time for them to break out all of their weird ass pocket strats and stuff. But the thing about the New York Excelsior is they don't get like, how to put this.
Rattled.
One of Chengdu's biggest strengths is that even if they're playing meta shit, they always play weird and come at you in like an unorthodox way. And like I it's weird. It's a weird analogy, especially because I know that you don't necessarily like role in this world, but they are the Dominic Cruz of Overwatch League. And what that means, Dominic Cruz is the former bantamweight champion, one of the consensus best bantamweights of all time in MMA, and he is known for having a really awkward, weird like style of movement. Nobody else moves the way that he does or strikes the way that he does. Um, it's just this constant like lateral motion in and out. It's just weird. He doesn't do things the way anyone else does. And it's a very effective tool. Um, and it definitely serves Chengdu well in some occasions. But the thing is, on a fundamental level, a lot of their players are streaky. A lot of the time, their discipline kind of, in terms of team play, kind of lapses, and you'll see panic ults, or you'll see them not set up combos right, or you'll see them kind of trickle into fights on the instinct of, no, 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 we can do this. And all of those things will, hurt them in any match. But New York isn't going to get rattled, and so it's going to be very hard for Chengdu to find purchase. We're going to need, the best version of Chengdu, and we're going to need that consistently if they want to beat out the New York Excelsior.
Now, I'm assuming that our lovely teams on the right got to pick the lovely teams on the left, and to me, that would explain New York picking Chengdu. Yeah, they're crazy, but yeah, we can handle it.
Yeah, I
And
would. Yeah,
yeah,
I'd say
yeah,
that
so
plays into it.
so then coming down to the other pick that makes perfect sense to me, the Shanghai Dragons versus the London Spitfire.
Yeah.
Because when you can pick a team that you can roll over, you do pick a team that you can roll over.
Yeah, exactly. It gives you momentum. It leaves you feeling good. And again, there are elements of the London Spitfire that have promise and could potentially evolve into a strong team. And we've seen them have flashes where they look like things are maybe starting to come together. But right
Flashes are
now,
not enough against the Shanghai Dragons, especially the way they are now.
yeah, right now I have not seen anything that puts them anywhere near that level.
So then we come to our other very interesting question. Who do we think is going to take this? Because unlike APAC, where we have one very specific, very strong front runner and a whole lot of second place, I'd say there's three equally likely teams
Yeah,
in APAC right
yeah,
now.
right now Guangzhou, New York, and Shanghai all definitely, I think, have a very
Have a chance.
strong have a very strong, possibility.
Honestly, for me, it's down to Guangzhou or Shanghai because Shanghai has been, for the most part, since we all started playing separately together,
Hmm.
consistently good. Whereas Guangzhou has gone on a steep up curve. They went from this team that was pretty easy to beat to, like I said last time, New York.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, I kind of consider New York to be the third place out of all of these.
Yeah, and the it will be an interesting thing to see how it plays out, because I feel like New York has continued to improve and figure out how to incorporate their new pieces, but they still haven't attained the level of consistent excellence that they had in the past. Um, there are definitely times where they struggle more than I think they maybe should. Whereas
Yeah.
right now, Guangzhou and Shanghai are in really, really great form.
And I mean, I know it's kind of memey and dumb and not always the case, but New York chokes in tournaments.
It's true.
It
Like,
happens a lot.
yeah, it's a very consistent thing in the same way that Shanghai just cannot seem to consistently live up to their potential. It seems like New York, always kind of stumbles on that end. Even though, right now they've got a different coach than they had previously. It's not Pavane, it's not Wizard Yang.
Well, and I'm looking at Shanghai versus Guangzhou. I'm on Guangzhou's team schedule. Every time Guangzhou has gone up against Shanghai, it has been a straight 3-0 in favor of Shanghai. And we have one, two, two, three matches where
Mhm.
that's the case. But the last match that they played was Saturday, April 25th. And
Yeah,
Guangzhou, and that's also the same weekend where Guangzhou got 3-0'd by New York, and Guangzhou has been on a steady uptick since then.
yeah, and they beat New York the
So
last time that they went out.
they did 3-1. So then the question really does come down to, do you bet on Shanghai's consistency or do you bet on Guangzhou's ascendance? And I'd say
So
they're equally valid.
the thing that is interesting to me is I don't think we've really seen Shanghai play the Echo extensively yet.
This is true. This
Like,
is true. They haven't gone for it. Do you think they're not comfortable on it?
I mean, possibly, but with their roster and coaching staff, they do have an incredible. We've seen them play it a little bit. Like they did it in their London match, but they didn't run it consistently, if my memory serves. Like I know that Fleta was the one running it more often than not. Actually, no, they played it a fair bit on there. And we had the thing is we haven't seen Nero on the Echo. Like that's one of the things that I think is very interesting as a possibility. I th- I think I would give Shanghai the edge, but it's fairly narrow. I think in terms of likely winner, it's New York. It's New York third, Guangzhou second, Shanghai first.
That's probably the smart bet.
I think Guangzhou could very likely upset things though, and New York definitely has the capability to play spoiler if they are playing up to the level where we know that they're capable of.
Okay, I'm going to do a Bren Cat thing here. I'm going to flip a coin.
Okay, yeah, do it.
So heads it's Guangzhou, tails it's Shanghai for first.
Mhm.
I really do think New York is in third. And tails. All right, Shanghai. Literally pulling a Bren Cat here because I cannot pick between these two. I can't.
Yeah, the thing is, Fleta. I'm trying to remember how he looked on the Echo as a whole. It's one of those things like if Nero does Nero things, Guangzhou very realistically could just win it.
Yeah. But Shanghai is such a powerful team in general and
Oh, absolutely.
consistently so this whole season and a good chunk of last season. Like,
Hmm.
there's no reason. It's consistency.
Yeah, ever since they kind of blew up their roster and rebuilt it, they've been consistently very, very powerful. Sort of like as soon as the dam broke, they were really
Yeah.
living up to their potential more often than not.
So, yeah, what we're looking at for the May Melee is the San Francisco Shock and the Shanghai Dragons. And I think afterwards they should play an exhibition match against each other.
Hmm.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
That would be a lot of fun.
And hilariously inconvenient timing wise for everyone, but
Oh
still a
yeah.
lot of fun. I work for an international corporation with multiple, yeah, just multiple locations globally. And let me tell you, all staff meetings are
It's
what
a
do you mean
nightmare.
it's at 5 in the morning my time? No, I won't be awake for that. They're a little wild, but everyone gets that. So, yeah, just trying to coordinate. Yeah. And then I guess, and we should have put this in the news section, Achilleos and Wolf went back to Korea.
Yes, they've
So,
they've kind of been living there, during their times casting contenders. They love it there, and that was one of the reasons why it took them a little while to basically come in for the Overwatch League. They, they that's where they live.
yeah, Wolf called it going home.
Yeah,
So,
no, they
I
love
think,
it there, and they were
yeah.
like, it was genuinely like one of the things that kind of stalled them becoming part of the Overwatch League broadcast team.
So I think at this point they are going to become our consistent um, APAC region casters, which
Yeah.
I think everyone who lives stateside and occasionally has to rotate and be awake until 5, 6 in the morning will probably appreciate a lot.
Yeah, and they've been casting Contenders Korea for such a long time that they are more familiar with these players than a lot of people who are, NA based are, just by virtue of the difficulty that comes in with just being up and watching these games.
So, in terms of timing, because once you land, you go into a 14-day quarantine regardless in Korea. They've really got their shit together in terms of
Yes,
COVID-19.
their response has been really, really on point.
Oh my God, yes. Um, will they be, provided that, everything's fine, they didn't catch it, Godspeed. Do you think they'll be casting the show match on the 31st?
I would be very happy if that happens. It just sort of depends on what arrangements have been made for the situation. They've announced Korean casters, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, I don't know what the situation is for casting it in other languages.
Regardless, I'm really happy for them that they are able, again, to go home. They've been stuck out here, unable to travel. So
Yeah, and I'm
good for
happy
them.
that Pixie and Arvel are getting a chance to come up and cast some Overwatch League matches because they're really, really good at their job. They've been doing it very consistently, and I think that they will flourish on this platform now that they're given a chance to step up.
I'm not going to lie, I'm a little sad that Lemon Kiwi didn't get the opportunity
Yeah.
like that. And part of that is just me going, more women in
Mhm.
Overwatch. God damn it. Zoe is a queen, and I love her. But we also need more women on the desk, and we need more women players, and we need more
Yeah.
women in this esport in general. Quit bullying your women out, you idiots.
Yes.
Stop. So,
Yeah.
but
And I definitely think Lemon Kiwi's deserving of it too. It's just a matter of if you need a casting duo. Pixie and Arvel are a very established one that have a lot of synergy and chemistry and are just kind of ready to be slotted in there and go.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, that'll be fun and interesting. I
Hmm.
am looking forward to this tournament, and it's just going to be shenanigans all the way down.
Yeah.
Like, I
They
know it's going to be a whole ass tournament and that people are going to do their best, and we're keeping it as official as we can, but honestly, shenanigans. This whole season is shenanigans.
Yeah, and I will say I like the fact that it's not compliant to hero pools because it means it gives us a lot of flexibility to see like weird pocket strats.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, so those are our predictions for this, and I think we've got just about everything, so we'll see how this starts tomorrow. Should be fun. Did we miss anything?
I don't think so.
Alrighty, you can call it then. I am Katie. You can follow me all over the social medias as well as on YouTube and Twitch at Kiaxet. That is Kiaxet.
I'm CJ. You can find me on Twitter at the_rage_nerd. And here I will occasionally cast for, various Overwatch, tournaments online. I haven't gotten to do anything recently. I was supposed to actually be casting on the day that I broke my foot. So that kind of
Oh.
I had to just quickly send a message like, "Hey, I'm going to the doctor right now, so sorry."
Yikes. Yikes.
Yeah, it was unfortunate.
All right. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter at OnThePointPod, and supporting our sponsor supports us. So head over to FredsBS at FredHeBakes.com and use coupon code OnThePoint for 20% off your entire order. Again, obtain sweet things. You deserve it. Stay safe. Stay inside if you can. Wear your masks. Be very, very kind to your essential workers. They absolutely deserve it. Yeah, we good?
Yeah.
All right, let's see 9.